We just want to wish you all a very good evening and namaskar to all of you. It is my pleasure to welcome you all on this 7-day online evening faculty development program on the essence of this program. I think that is the MulyaPravah 2.7, shaping leaders with conviction, is conviction. That is, it speaks of the deep-rooted values within educators, which fosters a profound belief in our students, uh, whose learning journey is, what we are have the responsibility for. I just need to forward this password and. Firstly, just wanted to tell you that whatever disciplines we are into, regardless of our disciplines, whether humanities, social sciences, basic sciences, engineering, or any other field, we will gain exposure to an inter-domain perspective through this. As our expert speakers share their knowledge from various fields, we will expand our understanding beyond our confines of our specialty. This broadened perspective will enable us to incorporate different approaches and viewpoints when we teach students from our schools and within the university, the other schools, thereby enriching our teaching content. Secondly, each of us will find resonant insights that can incorporate into our knowledge transactions the knowledge transactions that we do with our students. We are preparing our students with the skills and values needed for rapidly changing world of the 21st century. In this new landscape, there are no more silos. There are only intersections. There are intersections of domains. And these domains are what our students will encounter when they go out of the university. And this FDP provides an opportunity to understand what we are preparing our students for. In our education curriculum, we aim to provide students with a framework to work with values. Their practical learning involves acquiring the best skills and values from every course they undertake and every faculty member who teaches them. Thus, the framework is provided in the course, and then they acquire it from every class, every lecture that they attend, and every experience that they have in the university. Thus, every faculty member, whether involved in value education course or not, becomes the value coach for the students, and this is why the UGC had mandated this course for all faculty in the university. So with this, um, I would like to first introduce, call our first speaker, Anviti Madam, and uh, Professor Dr. Anviti Gupta is the head of Sharda Schools of Humanities and Social Sciences. She was director of Bharatiya Sanskritik Vaishvik Kendra, and she has established psychological counseling cell at the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, housed at the Humanities and Social Sciences, which is called as Abhivyakti, which supports the students and also provides counseling services. Her expertise includes juvenile and adolescent issues like anxiety, substance abuse, etc. She conceptualized this faculty development program last year, and it took its own time to develop finally into this beautiful format that has come up with. I actually thank ma'am for all her support, and our associate dean Hariom sir, he has also been very cooperative, and his support and every support of all our team, this has come through at present. And I would, with my heart, I invite beloved Anviti Madam to provide a brief introduction to this program and its deliverables.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Radhika, and congratulations. Because once the thing is begin, I think it's almost done. And you, Dr. Vipin, Dr. Rukmani, and Dr. Som Prakash have initiated this program very well on a beautiful note, though there was a technical glitch due to which we got delayed by 10 minutes. But nonetheless, we are on track. And with the right aim and ambition, I think you will definitely take this program forward with the right earners, with the value of integrity and disseminating.
I think your mic has got muted. The mic,
Can you hear me, Doctor? Acha, now can you hear me? I think my mic was off. Okay, so I just congratulate the entire team at SHSS, Dr. Radhika, for believing in my thought and my idea and taking it forward, to Dr. Vipin, Dr. Som Prakash, and Dr. Rukmani for all their help and support in bringing this thought to a platform wherein we can disseminate this education, that we have to inculcate basically the values in our student to excel, to be a better adjusted human being in this world full of turmoil. So I would like to start with the Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. We pray to God Almighty that from ignorance, He should lead us to the truth. From darkness, He should lead us to the light. And from death, lead us to immortality. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om. With this prayer to God Almighty, I say that if you believe in virtues, if you believe in values, then obviously we will be far away from ignorance. We will be far away from darkness. We are oblivious of so many things, but then we are knowledgeable, we are skilled, and we do everything with a complete dedication, commitment, with values, carry out whatever our profession demands, whatever our personal life demands. If we lead our life with complete values, nothing can be a deterrent in accomplishing our dreams and our dreams of our parents. So this faculty program, development program, was conceived with the idea that we all know what values are, what virtues are, what are the good deeds, what is written in scriptures. Maybe many a times we chant the hymns early in the morning, we lit a diya in front of our temple, we go to temple, but then we don't know how to exactly inculcate these values, very fine values, to make every child a good human being with values, with thoughtfulness, with commitment, with love, warmth, compassion, empathy, sustainability, and all these things need to be taught. So we have to realize at point in time that we really need to teach, first of all, our children when we are parents, and then it is a bound duty of our faculty members, our teachers, who will inculcate these values. And UGC has promulgated that MulyaPravah 2.0. Under this, we have to inculcate professional values and ethics to our students, that they become better adjusted in this world of turmoil. They practice good values. They complete their work with honesty, with integrity, with dedication. The true values, which are the very essence of a true human being, that should be there in every person. He should do whatever work, be it small, be it a menial job, be it a big task, must do with complete conviction, dedication, courage, and honesty. So, how these values can be taught? So, we have invited various experts, and I'm very, very grateful and thankful to our Manish Verma ji, who is the district magistrate of Gautam Budh Nagar. He could take out time from his busy schedule and give us his valuable inputs, discuss with us his insights, and what a man who is so much surrounded by the responsibility of the entire society, the orderliness, how that orderliness can be maintained, how the administration of the state can take very well. So, how the values have to be learnt, inculcated, practiced, and how we can be the role models for our children and for our youngsters, for our youth in the society. My heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Manish ji. We are really indebted that despite so much of busyness, you have come and you have adorned the very stage and platform of this FDP program, wherein we talk of things which has a very small name value, but then it has a big meaning, a heavy weight, because it only makes and mars your life.
Sir,
It
just
only
joined, ma'am. He had got disconnected. Just the last
yeah.
few minutes you would have missed, ma'am.
So, can you hear me now? Radhika, is there any issue?
No. There's no issue. Sir has just joined because of.
Ma'am, I'll share you with the presentation. You share it on the screen.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I'm very grateful to you, Manish Verma ji, for taking out time from your busy schedule. And आपने इतना समय हमारे लिए निकाला, उसके लिए हम आपको तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देते हैं। और ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि आप आज हमारे बीच में हैं, और आपके ही वचनों से हम ये जान पाएंगे कि हमें क्या करना है एज टीचर्स, और हमें अपने यूथ को कैसे वैल्यू लेडन लाइफ लीड करनी है, कैसे मूल्य प्रधान हमें हर बच्चे को बनाना है और तैयार करना है इस जिंदगी की लड़ाई में आगे जंग लड़कर पूरी तरीके से अपने कामों को अंजाम दे सके। I would also thank the various professors from IIT Bhubaneswar, IIT Mumbai, and Dr. Raghavan, Dr. Rekha, and of course, there's a beautiful session on joy and melody. How this can inspire you to have more values? There are n number of sessions regarding values and how to have an impactful value-laden leadership. And of course, in the last session, we will be having our Commissioner ma'am to come and join us, and she will also grace the occasion with her very valuable thoughts. And so this is the session, this is the FDP, where these simple words which we've been hearing all around, how we can inculcate them in our system, our personality, and how we can teach. हम कैसे अपने बच्चों में ये वैल्यूज के, कमिटमेंट, डेडिकेशन के, ऑनेस्टी के, कार्य को पूर्णतः अंजाम देने के लिए हमेशा तत्पर होकर आगे तैयार रहना, कैसे हर कार्य को ऑनेस्टी से, टाइमलीनेस को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें पूरा करना है। तो यही एक मन में विचार था कि कैसे हम सभी लोगों के, समाज के विभिन्न वर्गों से, समाज के जो भी लोग हैं, अभिन्न अंग हैं जो पूरी स्टेट को चला रहे हैं, लोगों को पढ़ा रहे हैं, शिक्षक गण हैं, वो आए और हम सबको बताएं कि हम कैसे अपनी जिंदगी में वैल्यूज को आत्मसात करें और अपने बच्चों में उसको लेकर आए। Thank you very much for joining in this FDP program. I really feel honored. I really feel privileged that all the dignitaries who will be the resource persons in this faculty development program, which is for 7 days, have joined us, and they'll be deliberating on various parts of professional ethics and values in our professional life. And I'm sure all the faculty members, the teachers, the young and old will learn few things, or maybe start reflecting on that how we were handling, how we can inculcate more value system in our own system first, and then can be the role models for our students. मेरे तहे दिल से मैं सबका शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ, मैं आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ, और मैं बहुत प्रसन्नचित हूँ कि आप सभी आए, और मैं इस उम्मीद के साथ आपको धन्यवाद देती हूं कि जरूर इस फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम से हम यहाँ से कुछ ना कुछ लेके जाएंगे और रिफ्लेक्ट करेंगे, आत्मसात करेंगे और उसको प्रैक्टिस करेंगे। Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, for making this dream of having this kind of a faculty development program a reality. And I thank all the organizers of my school for doing it so wonderfully well. So well begun is half done. So let us start with the very first session. Manish ji, आपका स्वागत है, आपका आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ, और आपके शुक्रगुजार है कि आपने अपना समय, कीमती समय में से थोड़ा समय हमारे लिए निकाला और आपने ये सेशन का शुरुआत की. Thank you very much. May you have a very good learning session during the 7 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and I would like to introduce myself. I think I'm audible. Radhika ma'am, I'm audible or not?
Absolutely,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes,
Very
sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Today we are going to talk about the ethics and morality. I have been given the topic of constitutional ethics. So, the speaker before me, she was talking about the value system in our society and how to inculcate the value system and better, how can we contribute to make it a better society and a better country to live in. I have prepared a brief PowerPoint presentation, just focusing on the main elements of our constitution and how and why it is important for our society and our nation as a whole. But the topic we are going to talk about today, if we need to summarize in just one line, the philosophy what we are talking, I always say wherever I get a chance to speak, if anybody talks about morality and ethics, I just repeat the same sentence what Mahatma Gandhi has once told to the people, that be the change you want to see in the world. आप दुनिया में जो परिवर्तन देखना चाहते हैं, पहले आपकी शुरुआत वो अपने आप से होती है, अपने घर से होती है, अपने समाज से होती है. It cannot be double standard, like we are a different person in an institution, or we are a different person in a society, and we are a different person in a family. The dual character doesn't work. So this is the bottom line, and this is the gist of all the discussion we'll have on the ethics and morality. That be the change. If you want to change the world, if you want to change the country, you want to contribute, you need not to go on the borders and fight with the enemy. Enemy is here only in our society, in our family, among our friends, and we need to fight that battle here only. So you need to be the agent of change you want to see. Ma'am, the next slide. So I'll start with this just a brief differentiation between the morality and the ethics. As everybody know, I've been told that all the faculty members are they are attending this program. So I think this fundamental difference, everybody knows that what is morality and what is ethics. Morality is basically the personal and very personal thing and very normative. You can decide the morality by yourself, what is right and wrong for a person, what is good and bad. It is basically a person's behavior or belief system which he himself doesn't accept. This is right and this is wrong. He accepts that this is right, so this is moral for that person. And if he doesn't accept that belief, then that is immoral for that person. So the morality is basically, you can say, it's a individualistic thing, a personal and very normative. And ethics is a set of standards of good and bad, and it is like distinguished by a certain community or social settings. The ethical behavior, we consider the ethical behavior that is considered good in society. As a society as a whole, the society decides what is ethical and what is not ethical. So the morality and ethics, they are very very there is a very subtle difference between these two. Next slide, ma'am. So the agenda of the discussion for today is like, first we'll talk about our the very basic basic facts about our country. Then I have chosen certain points from the Constitution of India, the basic principle of our Constitution, then the directive principle of state policy. That is basically that talks about the morality and ethical value of our society. So this DPSP, directive principle of state policy, is very important as far as the discussion on morality and ethics is concerned. Then we'll talk about the allegiance to the nation, global citizenship, and how we are embracing the unity in diversity, and then the constitutional morality. Next slide. So this is just a picture that shows the country in one world. You see we have historical legacy also. We have a very colorful history, you can say, and a very memorable history. It's a cultural, you can say, assimilation and unity in diversity. This picture shows. Next. So this is the basic fact about our country. This is like you can see the written history of our country is like around more than 4,000 years old. We are the seventh largest country in the world, and we have such a lengthy land frontiers. Bharat, we are called, is a union of states, and we have a parliamentary system of governance. The parliamentary system of the governance is a kind of governance where the head of the state is the chosen by the people of the country. They are not the selected one. They are the elected one. That is why we are called parliamentary system. We don't have presidential system unlike America. America follows a presidential form of government. We follow the parliamentary system of governance. The prime minister is first among the equals. He is not the head of the state. The president is the head of state, and the prime minister is first among the equal ministers. So he is one of the ministers. Next slide. So this is the basic points I have pointed out. I wanted to point out to in front of all the August gathering today. The basic principles are constitution. I have divided it into 8 parts. First part is the popular sovereignty. This is the basic, you can say, a fundamental element of any independent country, that the country enjoys the sovereignty. Sovereignty means rule of its own. We are not ruled by anyone. We are not slave. We are the independent country, and we follow the rule of sovereignty. We have popular sovereignty, and then preamble of our constitution that gives power to the people. So people are sovereign in this country. We, the people of this country, we people of India, we are sovereign people, and we choose our representative who are ruling and running the country. The second part is the fundamental rights, the basic element of our constitution. That is the fundamental rights, and I would like to draw attention of all my colleagues who are here that this is the most exhaustive chapter, very exhaustive chapter in our constitution. That gives us lots of rights. We are the largest and, you can say, biggest democracy in the world, and the kind of rights that has been given to the citizen of this country, that is phenomenal. I mean, you can generally see the kind of fundamental rights and democratic rights we enjoy, and that is why we are so proud of our nation as a country. We as a whole, we can we can do anything we want, only we cannot break the laws. Apart from that, we have right to speak, we have right to life, we have right to do what we want. We have to right to express ourselves in any way. We can follow any philosophy, we can follow any religion, we can follow any sect. There is no restrictions about that, and that is very beautiful part of our constitution. The second most important part is the directive principles of state policy. Fundamental rights are uh, enforceable in the court of law. Suppose if somebody is trying to infringe on your rights, or somebody is trying to curtail your fundamental rights, you can always go to courts, and you can uh, request the judiciary to enforce the fundamental rights. So that is enforceable. That is called enforceable rights. So the fundamental rights can be enforced, and time to time you must have seen through various courts, especially the Supreme Court, we have got it implemented, and we have got it enforced wherever there was problem on fundamental rights. But the next and most important part, the directive principles of state policy, that is non-enforceable. I mean, the Constitution has given us uh, an option to follow the directive principles, but the Constitution has not forced us to follow these directive principles, which are really, I mean, on moral grounds also and ethical grounds also. It should be followed by all and every citizen of this country. But you can say it was a vision of our forefathers that they did not enforce, did not allow the constitution to enforce this directive principle, because it is basically it directs us towards a very very ideal kind of society where everybody is following the law, everybody is following their duties, and everybody is like they are very high in moral character, ethical characters. So the this is directive principles is basically you can say it's a duty of our of a citizen of this country, but it is not enforceable. The next important point is the our constitution is socialism. We follow a socialist kind of principle in our country where the government takes care of the poor people. They whatever public welfare policies you see, me as an officer and we set of executive, we follow and we implement all the policies that are pro poor, that is towards the upliftment of the society and the downtrodden society, and it aims at the last at the person who is at the last rate of the society also. The socialist character of our constitution that allows us to follow the public welfare policies. The next and most important the element of our constitution is also the secularism. Everybody is free to follow and preach any religion he wants, any sect he wants. Nobody can force anyone to follow a particular religion, a particular sect. Everybody is free to do what he wants to and what he wants to follow. Next one is judicial independence. You know, our system is works on the checks and balance. We have basically three major sections of our Indian constitution: legislature, executive, and judiciary. And all these three pillars are independent. Like judiciary is also independent, executive is also independent, and our the legislature is also independent. So our judicial independence is one of the very very basic of our constitution that allows high courts and supreme court to work independently. At times you must have seen that any if something bad or something is not appropriate, if judiciary finds it inappropriate, they struck down that law also, that policy also, and they direct the government to implement certain policies which is towards the upliftment of the society. The next fundamental principle is the federalism. Federalism, you know, the states are independent in certain areas. The state has got powers to implement many policies, and they work in close coordination with the center. Center has got overriding power on certain issues, but certain issues are the states are independent and they take their own decision. The next is the cabinet government. We as a we in India we follow the cabinet government because our department is headed by some cabinet minister or the executive also, and through that system we implement the policies. The next one. This is the basically preamble of our constitution. I wanted to focus on this. I think the picture is not very clear, but I think all everybody must have read about the preamble of the constitution. This is called uh, if we talk in Hindi, uh, people say that ये जो preamble है प्रस्तावना ये हमारे संविधान की आत्मा है. If we can't study the whole constitution, we can study only preamble, and we understand the values that are in our constitution, the belief system, the ethics, whatever we can talk, that everything is in the preamble. And it starts with the we the people of India. All the power in constitution, whatever it is delegated to the politician or the public representative or executive or legislature, we the people of India, we just you can say delegate that power to our chosen representative, but in fact we are the one who hold the power. We are the real power. We the people of India are the real power. And the elements I talk about, the sovereignty, you can see all the features I just talked about in my previous slide. the sovereignty, the socialist character of our constitution, the secular democratic republic. Everything is in there in our preamble. It talks about justice, and justice in every sphere only, not only the procedural justice. It talks about the social, economic, and political justice also. It talks about liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worships. I just spoke about the secularism, and I spoke about the fundamental rights. So this line is like expresses everything. It talks about equality, and it talks about fraternity also, and it talks about the decentralized system of our society, and it talks about unity and integrity of our nation. So the unity and integrity is also an integral part of our preamble, and this preamble is itself is the document that is like a Bible for us, that is Gita for us. Any religious document you follow, that is like that very basic documents for us. Next, yes. So I wanted to focus on this slide, the directive principle of state policy, and when I joined, Madam was talking about the how can we inculcate the basic values in our people, and how can we follow the belief system we think is very appropriate, and it will create a society which is good for us, which is good for the country. Let me just tell you, this directive principle is the document we should follow as a citizen. We always talk about the fundamental rights. We as a citizen, I every day I meet thousands of people, and everybody comes to me with his her problem, that they are facing this kind of problem. This is the right, and they are not getting the kind of fundamental rights. They are not enjoying the fundamental rights they are supposed to. But I rarely find people who talks about their own duty. When I ask them, did you follow the fundamental duties, and they are blank. We always talk about our right, but we never talk about our duty. And as an administrator, I really want all my faculty members who are here. I would like to request them that please do in your individual capacity, as a teacher also, as an administrator also, or as a leader, wherever you work, to inculcate this basic principle in every people in our society. Every students you teach, every people you meet, every person you which are your friend, to basically I mean, we should think about our duties first. The rights will follow itself if everybody in this country they start following their duty properly and sincerely. I think the rights, we need not to demand for our rights. Nobody will. Everybody complains about their the work. Like suppose in the morning, I used to get so many calls from people that we are stuck in a traffic jam. People are not following the rules, and the administration is not doing this and that, and they blame the administration. But if you go to the core of the problem, you will I mean, this is my experience. If everybody follows the rule, if everybody is following the rule, we will not face these kind of problems. uh, when I go to suppose I'm going to Delhi, or I'm going to Lucknow, I find the traffic jam there where people are not following the rules. You must have seen many a time that railway crossing is closed, but people are just trying to cross the railway crossing anyhow, and then they meet with an accident and they start blaming the government, that government is not assisting them, the government is not doing anything for their welfare. So I mean, it was just an example I wanted to point out, that we should follow our fundamental duties. If everybody is following the rule of law, everybody is following the rules, then I don't think we need to have these kind of discussion uh, to how to inculcate the values in a society. So our directive principle, I wanted to focus on these 3 points basically. socialistic principles, the Gandhian principles, and liberal intellectual principles. So, if you just go through these the letters which is written on the screen, you will realize all these things are very essential for any value system or any ethical society, and this is not something new. Just we need to follow these basic principles if we want to stay in an ideal society. If we want that we as a nation should evolve in a more mature way, and we should be a developed nation, we should follow these kind of the principles. When we go to some western country, Europe or America, or some developed countries like Singapore and all, we follow the very strict rules and regulations. We are not told to follow it, but since we are in that country, we follow their rules very sincerely. But when we come to our country here, we are just a bit careless about our rules and regulations. So my only point of discussion was today was just to bring to all and everybody's notice that we should uh, focus on the directive principles of our constitution that gives us a lot of insight about the value system, the ethical society, and how can we improve our society and guide it towards the modern and model society. The next one. This is the oath of allegiance. You can say everybody in this country, wherever you are posted, me as a government servant, you as a university faculty, or wherever we work, we take this oath, and you can read it. It is in Hindi and English, both. इन हिंदी इफ आई रीड, मैं शपथ लेता हूँ, प्रतिज्ञा करता हूँ कि ये संविधान के प्रति श्रद्धा, सच्ची निष्ठा रखूंगा, प्रभुता, अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा और अपने पद के कर्तव्यों का राजभक्ति, ईमानदारी और निष्पक्षता से पालन करूंगा. बट द पॉइंट इज, द क्वेश्चन आई हैव रेज्ड, हाउ मच डू वी मीन इट? हम शपथ तो लेते हैं, लेकिन हम उसका कितना पालन कर रहे हैं? हर साल कोई भी बात होती है, जैसे अभी हमने सफाई की शपथ ली, क्लीनलीनेस की. Our honorable prime minister, he wants this country to be clean, and to follow his vision we take oath every year कि हम गंदगी नहीं फैलाएंगे, हम गंदगी को साफ करेंगे, अपने आसपास के परिसर को साफ रखेंगे. लेकिन क्या एक्चुअली में हम उस ओथ को फॉलो कर पा रहे हैं या नहीं? It's not only about cleanliness. You can see any area wherever we take the oath, but are we following it? Just, this is a question for all the audience, everybody who is connected, that we should need to ask this question to ourselves, that the kind of oath we take, do we follow that oath, or we need to just think, and we need to take a pause, introspect, and then we should go ahead with what we talked about. The next. So this is about the global citizenship. Our constitution also talks about it talks about the value system that is global in nature, and every country, every society follow the same value system and same belief system. We are part of the United Nations also, and we एज अ कंट्री ऑल्सो, हमारी तो बहुत पुरानी परंपरा रही है कि वी टॉक अबाउट वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. हमारे पुराने वेदों में भी ये लिखा है कि पूरा जो संसार है, वसुधा, पूरी जो धरती है, वही हमारा परिवार है. पूरा वसुधा ही वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. So we are not, so narrow in our thinking. Our even forefathers, even the constitution writers, and even before that, during our Vedic period and ancient periods also, we have always considered ourselves as a global citizen, and our constitution also talks about the global citizenship. Next slide, ma'am. So one the one of the, I think this is the last slide. We talk about the unity in diversity. Our constitution also talks about the unity in diversity. If you see our nation, start from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Gujarat to Nagaland. The culture, the language, the everything, behavior, everything is so different, but still we are a nation. We are united and we work as a nation. So our constitution was very clear how it can be achieved and how can we achieve the unity and diversity. Usually, whenever if we have narrow mindset, we generally talk about the states, and then if we are in a state, then like if you are in UP, people will usually ask, oh man, you are from Purvanchal, or you are from West UP, or you are from Bundelkhand, or you are from Rohilkhand, or you are from Lucknow. This is, I mean, this needs to be changed. We as a nation, we should not think like that we are part of some region, or some, we speak certain language, or we follow certain culture. We as an Indian, the nation comes first, and our constitution is always is very clear about the national identity. We as a nation should be identified as an Indian, not someone from Tamil Nadu, or someone from India UP, or someone from Kashmir. I mean, this is also very important part of our constitution. Just an example, you must have seen the movie Chak De India, where the coach talks to the players, and all those players were rejected when they say that I am from Jharkhand, I am from Chhattisgarh, but that player is selected that says that she is from India. So that Indian identity, it was in movie, but that is a very real thing, and we all Indians should follow that thinking, that we are an Indian first, and then we are from some state. You must have seen the Panchtant story also, when uh, आई टॉक इन हिंदी. जैसे पंचतंत्र में एक स्टोरी थी कि एक डंडा किसी को देते हैं, वो डंडा एक आदमी तोड़ देता है, एक अलग डंडा देते हैं तो वो भी तोड़ देता है, लेकिन जब हम 4-5 डंडे मिला के एक साथ देते हैं उनको तोड़ने के लिए, तो वो तोड़ नहीं पाते. और बचपन से ही हम ये पढ़ते आए हैं कि व्हेन यू आर यूनाइटेड वी आर स्ट्रांग, व्हेन वी आर डिवाइडेड we are weak and we can be broken. And we have seen it during British rule also, that when we were divided, the country was under the British rule and we were slave basically. And when we got united, the country was independent, and we got our independence by getting united. So the Panchtan stories also talks about. I mean, it has that gist of our constitution, which talks about unity and diversity. Next. So that was all from my side, the constitutional morality. And the only point which I wanted to make here, that we should expect from each other. We should not, we should not talk about somebody is doing something. Even I have also expectation from you, so you should also have expectation from me. It's the people who make the country. It's we the people of India. We make the country. If we start improving, if we do something, I think the country is going to change. The value system is going to be improved, and we will be living in a better and good society. I'll again repeat the same quote of Mahatma Gandhi, that be the change you want to see in the world. And with this remark, I will end my presentation, and I'll just open for the question if anybody has a question. Thank you. Thank you.
If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. In the meantime, sir, I would like to, I have something to share about sir with all of you. So, first time when I went to meet sir, he, as the district magistrate of Gautam Buddha Nagar, Noida, Sir Mr. Manish Kumar Verma is an IAS officer of 2011 batch from the Uttar Pradesh cadre. Mr. Verma has a notable track record of public service. Prior to his current role, he served as the district magistrate of Jaunpur and Kaushambi. An alumnus of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Mr. Verma has also held significant positions such as Chief
Sorry,
Development
ma'am,
Officer.
I just got a call, emergency call. I just missed what you were saying.
I was just doing your introduction, sir, because I didn't get that privilege in the beginning. So I was just introducing you. So Mr.
Okay.
Verma has also held significant positions such as Chief Development Officer in Mathura and Pratapgarh. During my first visit to our respected district collector, his professionalism and dedication to his work were immediately evident. I also had the honor of meeting his esteemed wife, Professor Ankita Raj, and it was clear that both are deeply committed to education and public service. Together, they have authored books on parenting, showcasing their dedication to society beyond their professional duties. We are privileged to have Mr. Verma with us today, who has inspired us in this session of MulyaPravah. His talk had so many highlights, out of which the highlight on directive principles was something which he said, absolutely, sir. When it comes to other countries, we see how people, they follow the laws and they follow the rules, and when we are in India, we take things a little lightly. So definitely there is a call that we give more importance to our duty. And uh, I would like to also show this book that Sir and Madam has authored, and these are other books that Madam has authored. So we are really thankful to you, sir, and for all the service that you've rendered to the
Thank you.
society.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Over to questions. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? So, so we have the privilege now of having our next speaker, Dr. Raghavan. I first met Dr. Raghavan as a resource person who had come to take our course on Indian knowledge system in Banaras Hindu University. Dr. Raghavan, whose academic journey is both diverse and inspiring, has completed his graduation in electronics engineering from IIT Dhanbad. After a brief stint as a software engineer at Samsung, Mr. Raghavan discovered the true passion for philosophy and shifted his area of study. He pursued his postgraduate and doctoral studies at the University of Hyderabad, specializing in philosophy of language. Since 2016, Dr. Raghavan has been imparting knowledge in various areas of philosophy, including introductory philosophy, Indian philosophy, logic, critical thinking, and Indian knowledge traditions. His innovative approach to teaching aims to make philosophy accessible and engaging, especially for the students who may not have a background in the subject. Currently, he serves as assistant professor in the School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Management at IIT Bhubaneswar. Sir, we look forward to hear from you, sir. It's a privilege that you're
Yeah,
amongst us and taken time for us. Please welcome to you, sir.
yeah. Thank you very much, madam. And I thank you and also Sharda University for inviting me over here. I will share my screen firstly. I hope I have the permission. I think I do. And I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the topic that I'm going to speak on. Madam had requested me to speak on this topic called ethical leadership in engineering innovation. Very powerful words are there in that title. So I have tried to focus on as many of them as possible. So as a result, the innovation part has taken a hit, but other topics, that is ethical leadership as well as engineering, I have tried to do some justice to it. And I will try to take you through these points that I have mentioned over here. Firstly, I will try to place engineering in the Indian tradition because that is my background, the Indian philosophical tradition as well as the Indian scientific tradition. So I will try to spend some time convincing the audience that engineering has been there in this particular geographical region for quite a long time. And why it is important to understand this? It is important to understand that engineering has been here because we need to understand what kind of value or what kind of place knowledge itself had in the Indian tradition. So this will give us an idea as to what are the ethics, etc., that needs to be brought in the engineering, which is just one type of knowledge. So there may be different types of knowledge like humanities, social science, engineering, etc. And among different types of knowledge, engineering is just one type of knowledge. And all knowledge, according to the Indian tradition, was guided by something called as dharma. So the previous speaker, IAS Manish Saab, made a distinction between ethics and morality, and then between duties and rights, etc. We have a very fantastic word to club all of them into one single word. That word is dharma. So it regulates all the knowledge-seeking endeavor in our society, and engineering is no exception to that. And finally, I will present some Indian perspectives on this thing called ethical leadership. I will give a working definition, which I have taken from the Encyclopedia of Business and Management of what is this thing called ethical leadership. And then I will present some Indian perspectives or Indian examples, let me say, on this ethical leadership. So the first thing, the first section of this talk is about the place of engineering. Where or what position did we give to engineering? And nowadays, engineering is the end all of every student life. Everybody wants to do BTech only, especially if you are from South India, like me, born in the 90s and the 80s. So doing BTech and going to IIT or some engineering college was the ultimate goal of every life. But unfortunately or fortunately, that was not the case with ancient India. We made a distinction. If you see the Upanishad, particularly the Mundaka Upanishad, you have a distinction between the Paravidya and Aparavidya. So the Paravidya is the knowledge of self, which was the greatest knowledge. The actual knowledge to be had was the knowledge of the self. And everything else was Aparavidya, including the Veda, including Jyotisha, including Mimamsa, Nyaya, whatever, everything else, logic, engineering, science, humanities, whatever you want to talk, you will put it in that basket called Aparavidya. So engineering also would form part of this basket called Aparavidya because it does not reveal anything about the true nature of the self. Similarly, another very famous verse in the Vishnu Purana says that Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. So that is knowledge which liberates us. So this word moksha may be very familiar to all the Indians, mukti or moksha, etc. So only that is considered to be real knowledge or vidya, which liberates the soul, which tells us about the true nature of our soul. Everything else is coming under this category called Shilpa. So the engineering you can put it as one of the Shilpa or one of the Apara Vidya. And this word Shilpa I have specifically highlighted because according to the Buddhist sources, in Takshashila University, 18 types of Shilpa used to be taught. And as you can see, I have highlighted those which are related to engineering in the modern curriculum. So for example, in the 18 Shilpas, you can find different types of disciplines. I think Madam was talking about nowadays there is no scope for compartmentalization. It is only overlapping disciplines. So you can see a truly multidisciplinary university in Takshashila where they are offering different types of courses. Some are in performing arts, some are in the fine arts, some are in engineering, some are in the sciences, and some are very mystic arts like magic and snake charm and all these things. And some of them I have highlighted, such as agriculture, cattle breeding, sculpture, engineering itself, and mathematics. So it was part of the curriculum that was taught. From literary sources, we can prove that engineering had a place in the university education or in higher education. Similarly, if you see the literary sources from the Kama Shastra, Vatsyayana's Kama Sutra, he lists out 64 kalas. So this is another word we can use for this non-spiritual knowledge. 64 kalas, and out of those 64 kalas which a courtesan or a ganika is supposed to learn, some of them have to do with engineering or the sciences. So for example, preparing the essences or perfumes, woodworking, architecture, the ability to test gold, metallurgy, the skill for nurturing trees, etc. You can see that there is an overlap of what we call today engineering in these particular kalas. So if you want, where is engineering in the Indian knowledge traditions? Did we have a tradition of engineering in our place? From the literary sources, you can take and say, yes, we did have a tradition of engineering in our what we can say country or South Asia. And these are, it can be called Shilpa or it can be called Kala or whatever it is. And there are evidences from the literature to show it. Apart from the literary evidences, we can also give archaeological evidences. Anybody recognize what this statue is called? You can just unmute yourself. I hope you have the permission. The The statue on the right hand side. Does anyone know what it is popularly called? What is the popular name given to this statue? Anyone wants to say? It is, I think, housed in the Delhi Museum. Anyone wants to? Yeah.
Here, see the video, but not here. You can unmute.
Oh, they can unmute. Okay, yeah. Or if you can type in the chat or whatever it is. It is, after all, a faculty development program. It is like a workshop, so I don't think we should keep the questions to the last. You can just tell in the chat what you think it is called. Any guesses? Okay. Oh yeah, it is the dancing girl. Yes, very famous, and it is made by. Now this is a little more difficult question. Do you know what is the technique that they use to make it? A popular name for the technique that they use to make it. Anyone knows? Okay, so they used a technique called as lost wax technique, and it is being practiced even today. If you go to places like Tanjavur, etc., they make the Tanjavur very famous statues using this technique called the lost wax technique. And on the left hand side, you can see the very well paved streets of the Indus Saraswati civilization, wherein you can backtrack as to what is the kind of engineering knowledge that they should have had in order to build this kind of a city. Here are other examples of the engineering abilities of Indians. One at the bottom of the slide, you can see what is today called the Sanauli chariot, which was excavated somewhere near UP. And till then, it was thought that chariots were not available in India, so deep in India at that time. But this excavation has showed that chariots were available. And on top of the screen, you can see the very famous Shenachiti, or the eagle altar. If you Google the logo of National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, you will see this eagle-shaped thing. A lot of mathematical knowledge, geometrical knowledge is required to build this kind of an altar. Of course, not to say about all the mud, etc., the bricks, engineering involved in construction of bricks, etc., that goes in there. Here are another evidence, archaeological evidence. This is I'm not talking about some 12th century ancient India. This was in practice even until the 17th century in our country. Can anybody guess what is there on the picture? You can type in the chat and let me know. I'll give you a hint. These are all retorts of some sort. It is from Rajasthan. That is another hint I can give you. Okay, another hint I am giving you. It is for we have some answer. The lost city of Zawar. Yes, very good. But can you tell me what is there on the picture? Can you tell me? The name is correct. Zawar. Yes. What is it very known for? Any answer? What are the retorts? The retorts. These retorts that are there on the screen are the retorts that were used to distill zinc. So India was the first country to distill zinc in the pure form. These are mines. Yeah, the zinc mines. Even today, I'm told that Vedanta Corporation is mining zinc over there, and India was the first country to distill zinc in the pure format called by using a process called downward distillation process. And these are the retorts that are found, the archaeological retorts. And judging by the number of retorts that are found, you can guess that they were able to produce zinc at an industrial scale without actually using industrial equipment. If you see a blast furnace, some of the engineers and scientists who are there, or even if you remember your 10th class school, you will remember that iron is made out of there is extracted in the blast furnace. It is such a huge structure, etc. But they were not using such huge furnaces, but they were using these kinds of simple techniques in order to extract zinc. This one is the surface of something very, very peculiar, an innovation for which India was known right from the time of Alexander, even until 19th century. It is called wood steel or Wukku steel. It is a steel which is very high carbon, and yet it does not break when you hammer it. It is not brittle. It does not break. You can make swords out of it. So the very famous Damascus sword. So this is a cross section of the Damascus sword. Was made out of the steel called as Wukku steel, which was made in India. So these were the engineering innovations that were done by the smiths of India, and similar innovations in metalwork. This is the Tanjavur cannon. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the Konark beams. As you can see, it is not a single beam. There are many beams which are forge welded together. So how could they produce such consistent quality iron, and they were able to forge weld them all together? It is still a mystery for us. And on the right hand side of the screen, you can see a mirror, it is not technically a mirror. It is just an alloy. It is called the Aranmula Kannadi. It is from the Kerala, and it is a very secret formula which the family does not tell to anybody. So it is a single surface reflecting mirror, and a few families only know how to make it, and it is almost like a mirror, but it is not a mirror. And lastly, just to present on the macro scale also, you can see this is the aerial view of a place called Shishupalgarh, very close by Bhubaneswar. And you can see a very nicely laid out city has been made right next to a river. So there is a river water source, a very important water source. And right next to that, a very well planned layout of a city has been made. So what is the reason I am showing you all of these examples? The reason I am showing you all of these examples is to substantiate my claim that India has had a very long tradition of engineering in this place, both from the micro scale to the macro scale. So the micro scale involves all of these Aranmula Kannadi and swords, steel, and all these things, and surgical equipment. I didn't have a chance to show that, but the surgical equipments described by Sushruta, etc., can be taken as the micro level, and the macro level, which is like the engineering design, the town planning, right from the Mohenjo-daro time to the Shishupalgarh excavation. So the engineers over here managed to provide very, very effective solutions to the local problems. And to solve those problems, they used localized methods and means. So whatever was available near them, right? There was a time when we had to import the food, and I was told that we were living from ship to mouth. Before 1991, the liberalization happened. The grains used to come on the ship, and it used to go right into the mouth of the people. But that was not the case in pre-modern India. So we were using the locally available solutions to solve the problems. And the aim of the engineer in pre-modern India was to solve the problem rather than stick to some research methodology and things like that. Nowadays, no research is happening without whether you solve the problem or not is a different question, but you should have a section called research methodology. But the Indian engineer was not stuck with this method. They were hell-bent on solving the problem. So that is why if you notice the history of engineering in India, you will never find too much theory. In fact, you will not find any theory at all. I've been trying to extract some certain theoretical principles of the Indian engineer, but what the historians tell us is that in our place, practice never waited for the theory. The Smith did not wait for the atomist to come and give a theory of atoms or calcination and all these things to do the solution that he was going to provide. That fellow just went on solving the problem. I have to get iron. That's all. That is the problem I have in front of me. I don't want to wait for the theory to tell me how to produce this iron and things like that. So I will just go and solve this problem with whatever means that are available to me. Okay. So how is this that this fellow undertook this kind of a very, very practical and functional approach to engineering? The answer to this question lies in how Indians viewed knowledge itself. So the approach that we took to engineering is one special case of the approach that we took to knowledge itself. How did the Indians view knowledge? And this question is, the answer to this question is present in the Indian value system. So the question that I am going to address next is that what value did the Indian thinkers attach to knowledge in general, and therefore to engineering knowledge? So as I've been trying to tell from the beginning, I consider engineering knowledge to be one species of the general category called knowledge. So knowledge is available everywhere. I mean, in so many fields, and engineering is one type of such knowledge. So if you give an answer as to what type of value did Indians give, or what value did Indians give to knowledge, that will answer the second question as to what value did they give to engineering knowledge, and that value is what drives the method. So the session also is called values, isn't it? So the Mulya, what is the Mulya that we have attached to engineering? Depending upon your value, your practice will be the case, how you carry out that particular entity. So what value did the Indians attach to knowledge? And to answer this question, we have to go to the most famous value framework that is available in India called the Purushartha. This word may be familiar to many people in the audience. What this word? And I will just give a formal definition. So we human beings pursue many things in life. So I pursue, let us say, I want a car, you want a bungalow, you want to go on vacation, I want gobi manchuria, or I want momo, or whatever it is. I want a very beautiful partner, I want a very rich spouse, or whatever it is it may be. So we pursue a variety of things. But as philosophers, we don't want to give an account of each and every entity or each and every pursuit. What we philosophers do is that we try to categorize it in the most general ways. What are the most general types of pursuits? That is what we philosophers ask, rather than giving a account of each and every pursuit that me, you, her, etc. are giving. So these categories, these very, very general categories of pursuits that we undertake in our lives, these are called the Purushartha. And you can understand them as a sort of axiological framework, value framework from this, which has been given by the Indians. So what are all a definition, a formal definition of Purushartha? According to Hiriyanna, the Purusharthas are an end which is consciously sought to be accomplished for its own sake or for the sake of utilizing it as a means to a further end. Okay. So two types of end have been identified by Hiriyanna. One is called the instrumental end and the other is an intrinsic end. So you may want something for its own sake or for putting it into effect for something else. So, but the common factor is that you consciously seek it. So animals also seek food, animals also seek shelter, animals also seek sex. But when we seek them, there's a difference between us and the animals. The difference is that we consciously seek these entities, whereas animals do not. And the two types of goals that we have are the intrinsic goals. Intrinsic goal means it is worth for its own sake, whereas the instrumental goal is something which is desired for as a means to achieve something else. So, for example, this mobile phone is not worth in itself. It is valuable because I can make calls and connect with my family, etc. So it has intrinsic value. It has instrumental value. Similarly, this pen that I have over here, it does not have any intrinsic value. It is an instrument. I just want to write with it. It does not have any intrinsic value. Of course, if my father had gifted it on his deathbed and things like that, if that had happened, then it will have sentimental value, because of which it will have some intrinsic status. But for now, it has only instrumental value, right? In this way, the four categories that the Indian thinker thought of are Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. So the first three are very, very important. They are mentioned in almost all of the old works. Trivarga, it is called. And the fourth one is supposed to have been added a little later in the Indian culture, in the Vedic culture, towards the end of the Vedic period. Artha, we don't have to go on each and every thing. What is important for us is Artha and Dharma. These are the two things that are important for us. So I will spend more time on them, but I will just tell one or two sentences about what each of these Purusharthas are. The first one is Artha, which we will take in somewhat detail. It constitutes all the material pursuits we have in our life. So it can be car, it can be bike, it can be a house, it can be promotion, it can be a good job, salary, in a bonus, etc. All the material wealth that you have in your life, you can put under the category of earth. Sorry. The second one is Kama, which is sensual desires. So it is not just sex. It has much more meaning than that. Anything that gratifies your senses, anything that satisfies your senses can be put under the Kama Purushartha. So for example, whenever you want to listen to good music, whenever you want to look at good paintings, whenever you want to see the sunset or sunrise, or whenever you want to go on top of a hill and look down and enjoy the view, etc., all of these constitute Kama Purushartha. So when you want good food, let us say, so you want to satisfy your gustatory sense, isn't it? So all that can be put under the Kama Purushartha. The third one is Dharma, which is the all-encompassing magic word of India. We will talk a little bit more about that. And the last one, which is Moksha, is the final liberation from our cycle of birth and death, which we call samsara. So when all our karma is exhausted, we release. We no longer have any rebirth, which is very common to many of the Indian philosophies, whether it is the Vedic philosophies or the Buddhist philosophy or the Jain philosophy. All of them believe in a cycle of birth and rebirth, etc. So a release from this cycle of birth and rebirth is called moksha. So among these four Purushartha, I repeat once again, these are the four types of goals we have. And among these four types of goals, the ones that are important for our current topic over here are Artha and Dharma. Because engineering, as I will show you, is part of this artha, not just engineering. Knowledge itself is part of this artha purushartha, and artha will be regulated by dharma. So these are the two things that will be important for us. Okay, so now coming to artha, there are, as I told you, it covers all the economical or economic or material pursuits that we have in life. Kautilya defines it in one way. He defines it as something, all the livelihood that is there, that the human beings do, and they inhabit this earth, that is called artha. But a little more useful list of things that constitute artha is given to us by Vatsyayana in Kama Shastra. He says that what and all constitute artha. So the first thing that he says is part of artha is vidya, knowledge. So as you can see over here, knowledge is considered to be an artha. It is an instrument. Okay, so this is an important takeaway that you can note down, and we can have a discussion about this later on also. Some of you may be thinking that knowledge is of intrinsic worth. Oh, knowledge, it is so sacred. Oh my God, Saraswati, etc. But no, the literature tells us that knowledge is of instrumental value. I am fairly certain that whenever you admission season happens, the parents call you and say, "Madam, iska ye course ka kaisa placement kaisa hai, madam? Kya hai iska?" Like that, I am sure that they have asked. No parent has joined a child in the program with just for the sake of knowledge and things like that. Placement acha hai kya? Iska future prospect kaisa hoga, etc. All these questions they will ask, only then they will put in the degree. So that clearly shows that the knowledge, almost the entirety of knowledge except for the self knowledge, is of a instrumental nature. And apart from that, you can see the usual things like land, gold, cattle, utensils, etc., ornaments, household goods, etc. And lastly, friends are also understood as artha. So with friends, and how can you treat friends as artha or friend? I mean, human beings are not instruments. How dare you tell we are instruments? But that, once again, this is not as per the day-to-day life. So for example, your university is using my resources for this FDP. I am using the university to present my ideas to you people. Your friend is using you for taking some loan. You are using your friend for अरे यार मैं बाहर जा रहा हूँ थोड़ा देख लेना यहाँ पे, etc. So we continuously go on using each other for one way or the other. So we do use human beings as resources. I am 100% sure that all of you have heard of this term called human resources. So that itself shows that human beings are treated as resources, which is not very different from what Vatsyayana is telling, that even you can consider as human beings as artha. So now what is the feature of this artha? One of the most important feature of artha is that it is completely instrumental in nature. It is not worth for its own sake. It is always used to put into practice for achieving something else. And since vidya or knowledge is listed as one type of artha, knowledge also is instrumental. And modern researchers also agree that India never saw knowledge as useful for its own sake. Knowledge for knowledge's sake. This does not appeal to the Indian mind. Saraswati Amma says in her book that all disciplines must have a purpose. They should have a purpose. And this is a question that we can take up later on for the discussion as to if there are any engineers or any doctor, whoever you are, whatever discipline you practice, what is the purpose of your discipline? Please think about it, right? So I can tell you from the literary sources that what are the purposes that different had. What are the different shastras had, but what is the purpose of engineering or your particular science, economics or something like that? You can think about it. So since all the disciplines were purpose oriented, engineering was also purpose oriented. This is the reason why engineer or the innovators of our engineering did not wait for theory, because for them what was important was to solve the problem, not wait for theory. So even today we have problems, isn't it? In our society we have problems. We have the problem of water contamination. We have the problem of disease. We have the problem of let us say poverty. Whatever it is, we have cyber security. Whatever it is, we have problems. The engineer's job is to solve the problem, not wait for the theory. Right? That is what the Indian engineer would think like. Because for that fellow, knowledge itself is instrumental. And since engineering is one type of knowledge, it is just instrumental. I don't have to go about all this theory, etc. Kaise bhi karke ye problem ko solve karo. So from the literary sources, I can tell you what are all the purposes of different shastras, but that is too boring. If anybody is interested, I can take it up later during the discussion session. But for now, I would request you to think about this question as to what is the purpose of engineering. I am specifically focusing on engineering because the topic given to me was that ethical leadership in engineering innovation. But you don't have to limit yourself to engineering field itself. If you are from physics, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of physics? If you are from chemistry, ask yourself, what is the purpose of chemistry? If you are from economics, ask yourself what is the purpose of economics. If you are from philosophy, you ask yourself what is the purpose of philosophy. If you are from linguistics, you can ask what is the purpose of linguistics. So because why is the purpose important? Because knowledge is an instrument to solve that purpose, and all your subsequent methodology will be dependent upon this particular assumption, right? So here is another some more features of artha. It is very attractive because it is scarce, just like seats in engineering colleges, universities, seats, etc. A lot of competition is there, and there's a common stereotype that Indian society shunned artha. All these ये सब मोह माया है, ये क्या नौकरी, ये for promotion, ये सब मोह माया है, etc. No, that is not the case. We are told to pursue artha as much as possible, because without artha you cannot do anything. Without wealth you cannot. And when I say artha, please know that I am including even knowledge, friends, everything, not just money. I'm not just talking about money. Now you should have a more expanded idea of what artha means. Without artha you cannot do anything, right? So Mahabharata stresses this. The Kumara Sambhava, Kalidasa's Kumara Sambhava, we are told that the body also is an instrument, is artha. Sharira madhyam kalu dharma sadhanam, like that Kalidasa says. So your body also is an instrument. That is why you should take care of your body. Not because it is intrinsically valuable or any such thing, right? And Kautilya, though, his book itself is called Artha Shastra, so he says that Artha is the cornerstone of everything. Without Artha, nothing is possible. You should first try to accumulate Artha in your life. And in Shushruta Samhita also, we are told that the surgeon must always look to make money and earn money. So it is a wrong stereotype that Indian society is very spiritual. We don't want money, we didn't want wealth, etc. This is unnecessary stereotype that I don't know how it has gotten created, but that is not true. And we have gone after artha just like any other society. But because it is an instrument, it is not intrinsically valuable. It has to be regulated like any other instrument. For example, electricity is an instrument, isn't it? It's not valuable in itself. You have to regulate electricity, right? In the same way, knowledge also is a instrument. You have to regulate that knowledge. So every instrument has to be regulated. So artha also has to be regulated. So what is that entity that regulates all this artha? It is this fantastic thing called dharma, which brings us to the next purushartha called dharma. And this is the most complicated thing to understand and also explain. I definitely don't know what it means. When Bhishmacharya himself did not know what it means, you please forget what I can tell. I cannot tell you what is dharma. But there are multiple ways in which philosophers have tried to understand this entity called dharma. You can understand it as a set of virtues, like Madam was telling, honesty, truth, integrity, etc. All of these you can put under dharma. Non-violence, ahimsa paramo dharma, like that we say. So those things you can call as dharma. You can also understand dharma as a set of rules. Yeah. So there's a difference between virtues and rules. Can we stop here and have a quick round question in the chat box? Can somebody tell what is the difference between virtues and rules? What do they think is the difference between virtues and rules? Telling the truth. Driving on the left side of the road. Which is a virtue, which is the rule? Not stealing. Being more than 18 years to get married. Which is a virtue, which is a rule? Are you able to make a distinction between virtues and rules? Virtues guide us from inside, rules are externally imposed. Yeah, something like this. So virtues are intrinsic values. They are valuable. They are generally encourageable practices. So truth telling is a generally encourageable practice, whereas rules are conditional. They are dependent upon society. So the previous speaker also made a distinction between ethics and morality. I don't see that difference, but definitely there's a difference between virtues and rules. Virtues are generally encourageable practices like truth telling, not stealing, etc., cleanliness, all these things. Whereas rules are decided by the society. In our society, we have decided to go on left-hand side, whereas in America, they have decided to go on right-hand side. There is nothing virtuous about driving on the right-hand side. There is nothing non-virtuous about driving on the left-hand side. It is just that our rules are according to the society. And lastly, you can understand dharma as a set of duties also. Raja dharma, chhatra dharma, acharya dharma. In all of the Raja dharma, all of these words, the word dharma appears as a duty. Notice that you will not find the thing called rights, which the previous speaker spoke about. And he very rightly pointed out that there is a big tussle between these rights and duties. We have always been a society which privileges duties over rights. And that I'm telling this point because it is important for ethical leadership. Ethical leadership is something that prioritizes duties over rights. So our country has been something that prioritizes duties. Rights are something that you get as rewards for performing the duty. A very nice story about this is that when the charter for the Human Rights Declaration was being sent out, the person who was behind that charter, his name is Julian Huxley, he sent a letter to Mahatma Gandhi saying that, see, we are making a draft of the United Nations human rights. Can you please send your suggestions? Gandhi replied at the backside of the postcard saying that, please, I am traveling, so I'm not able to reply in detail. And he said that my very, very wise but illiterate mother said that rights are what we get as rewards for performing our duties. Instead of writing a charter for human rights, you should be writing a charter for human duties. So that has been the priority of our thinking. Duties first. Rights will automatically come, as the previous speaker said. But this is just one conception of dharma. Another conception of dharma is that it's a regulative force. As I told you, all instruments need regulative forces, and dharma is that regulative force that regulates artha and kama. Thirdly, you can understand dharma as a means to a greater end. I will explain you what that is. And a minority conception is that dharma has some intrinsic value. So what is important for us are the second and third conception: dharma as a regulative force in life, and dharma also as a means to an end. What is that end? I will tell you. So the first thing, dharma as a regulative force. How do you understand this? Before I go to that, I just wanted to tell you how do you identify something is dharma or adharma. I told you it is very, very complicated. A very, very simple criteria is given in the Mahabharata by Bhishmacharya. What he says is that you should not do something to the others if you don't want it to be done onto you. That's all. This is the most simplest criteria with which you can decide whether something is dharma or not. Something is moral, something is ethical. This is the most simplest way. If you don't want it done onto you, don't do it to others. Why should you not lie? Because if somebody lied to you, you would feel bad. Why should you not be late to a meeting? Because if somebody late for your meeting, you will not feel good. Why should you not steal from somebody? Because if somebody stole from you, you will not feel good. That's all. You ulta, if you want to tell it in a positive way, do to others what you want to be done onto you. That's all. In other words, a very simple way is to understand dharma is that we have to be fair. And this word is very, very important because it appears nearly 10 times in the encyclopedia entry of ethical leadership, being fair. So this word we know. Fairness word we know, nyaya, dharma, whatever you want to translate it in Hindi, we know. But what it is, very simply, you can understand, don't do to others what you don't want to be done on. Why you should not infringe on other people's rights? Because you wouldn't like it if they infringe on your rights, isn't it? Why you should not trespass on other people's private property? Because you wouldn't like it if they trespass on your private property. So it's a very simple rule that has been given to us in the Mahabharata. And to tell you that the sense of fairness is innate in all of us. Even the animals have this sense of fairness. I had selected one video. I hope I have some time to present it. In this video, what happens is that unequal reward is given to two monkeys for the same task. I am sure some of you may have seen this video. Both the monkeys perform the same task. They are given a rock, the rock has to be returned. One monkey gets cucumber, another monkey gets grapes. Now you see how the monkey will react.
Piece of cucumber and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us. And that's what she does. And she gets a grape.
Yeah. So
and she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber.
Threw the cucumber out because that was an unequal reward. So you see how I was demanding that it will also be given the same award for the same task. So the sense of fairness,
she tests the rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again.
Yeah. And yeah. So here, the monkey does not have any problem with the cucumber. The problem is that one monkey got.
So this is basically
Why am I getting the cucumber? One monkey is getting the grape. Why am I getting the cucumber? So the sense of fairness is innate in all of us, I feel, and it is not at all difficult to appeal to this fairness and be somewhat.
So she gives a rock to us. That's the task.
Let me go.
And
yeah. So dharma acts as this regulative force that curtails us from doing or getting the artha that we are not supposed to get. So it is like too much accumulation of money, etc. It prevents us from getting. And it is very important. This idea of dharma is very important for ethical leadership. Another conception of dharma is that it is a sadhana, or it is a means for the greater good. The word for greater good in Sanskrit is abhyudaya. So the individual good, maybe I am progressing, etc., but that is not what dharma wants. If I get a salary, I get a bonus, I get an increment, etc., only I am happy. But dharma is a means for the greater good, or abhyudaya. So if you want to understand the concept of sustainable development, you can understand it via this abhyudaya. And artha, and because dharma regulates artha, artha should be used for the greater good. And connecting this to the concept of ethical leadership, now I am coming to the last part of my presentation. This is on top of the screen. You can see a definition of ethical leadership. It defines ethical leadership or as the demonstration of normatively appropriate conduct through personal and interpersonal relation, and the promotion of such conduct to followers through two-way communication, reinforcement, and decision making. So earlier, Madam was asking as to how we can inculcate these values inside our students. So the answer is that we have
और
to.
ऐसा लग रहा है लड़के आ रहा है लड़के आ रहा है
Okay, fine. Yeah, so okay, we have to continuously reinforce this communication via these kinds of seminars, conferences, etc., posters everywhere. Only then we can reinforce this idea into whoever we want to follow it. So what is the crux of this ethical leadership? We have to show ethical leadership, or we have to show morality or dharma, not just in our personal action, but also in our relationship with other people. And we have to make our followers follow this. So for example, if you are the dean of a school, you have to somehow make the faculty follow this. If you are the chancellor of a vice chancellor of a university, you have to make all members follow it. It is not enough if you yourself do it. That is not the quality of a leader. The leader has to make other people also follow this. And how is that possible? According to the concept of ethical leadership, the most effective way of doing that is to be a role model. Leading by example, which connects me back to what the previous speaker said, that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. Only when the followers see you implementing that in your day-to-day life will they be more motivated in order to take those virtues. So what is expected out of ethical leaders? What is expected out of managers these days? It is to balance the profit, which is doing things right, with leading in a fair way, which is doing the right thing, which are the characteristics of an ethical leader. So now this perfectly connects to the idea of the Purushartha, wherein profit is related to Artha, profit is Artha, and fairness is Dharma. And what ethical leadership demands is that we are able to achieve a balance. When I read this particular sentence, I was amazed that in one of the most important sources that we have, which is the Ramayana, it is the exact same advice that is being given by Rama to Bharata. When Bharata comes to meet Rama in the Chitrakuta, Rama asks him the question, I hope you are not sacrificing dharma for the sake of artha. I hope you are not sacrificing artha for the sake of dharma. So what he's asking is, I hope you are balancing both of these, artha as well as dharma. The balance of these, when both of them are balanced, is when you get abhyudaya. If you make more of artha, you become greedy. You become a materialistic society. If you do unnecessarily dharma, you don't progress in life. Okay, so if you ask the Indian philosopher, is there a thing called too much dharma? Is there a thing called too much morality? The answer is yes. There is such a thing called too much morality. There is no need for too much morality. Your morality should be matched with your other purusharthas, artha as well as kam. So if it is not matching, then something is gone wrong. As far as possible, you should try and stay on that abhyudaya line itself. Not go above it. Coming below it is acceptable, okay, because you are doing dharma, but definitely not going above it. So when you are being an ethical leader in engineering or science or whatever it is, as far as possible, you try and stay on that Abhyudaya line as far as possible. So that is what the Indian philosopher would say. And the ethical leader is somebody who is both a moral person as well as a moral manager. Both of them are required. A moral person is a person who has virtues, telling the truth, being punctual, being clean, etc. All of these things. Whereas a moral manager is somebody who ensures that this kind of an ethical behavior, if the employees show it, is rewarded, and if they don't show it, it is punished, and acts as a role model for the ethical conduct. So, and what is the other feature of the ethical leader? The ethical leader always work for the good of their stakeholders. They try to maximize the interests and the profits for everybody, both internally as well as externally. Internally means the employees who are part of the organization, and externally those who are the shareholders or the customers or all these people will be. So these are the traits of an ethical leader, and very remarkably, you find similar traits in the Indian tradition also. So, for example, if you see the third quotation that I have selected over there from Arthashastra of Kautilya, the book says that in the happiness of the subjects lies the happiness of the king. It is exactly what the previous quotation of ethical leadership says. The good of the ethical manager lies in the good of the stakeholders. In the same way, the good of the king lies in the good of the praja. So yatha raja tata praja. That is the second quotation actually. How the king is energetic, the praja also will be energetic. The third quotation says that the king should find, or a leader should find, the happiness or his or her happiness in the happiness of the people that he or she is governing, and the welfare of the king depends upon the welfare of the people in the same way. And of course, other books also list out the various virtues that should be there in a leader. I don't have the time to go through all of them, but it takes care of the moral person part. So without a person being a moral person, that fellow cannot be an ethical leader. So it is the morality that draws people to that particular person, whether it be Rama or whether it be any other person. And another important thing about the ethical leader is reinforcing this belief. And a very good example of a leader who reinforced this belief again and again is Ashoka. As you can see on the screen, throughout his empire, he set out the edicts and convinced the people that they have to follow the path of dharma. And he himself says that some of the methods have been inscribed again and again. So what he is doing, he is reinforcing this. Just like an ethical leader should reinforce this belief, reinforce the morality again and again, Ashoka is also telling the same message again and again. Because if you see the content of the edicts, you will find the same message written multiple times in multiple places. Why? Because they are very, very charming and they are worth repeating over and over again. So moral things people don't listen very easily. Okay, immoral things for some reason people listen very easily, but moral things people don't listen. So you have to repeat them over and over again. Right. So coming to using all of this or integrating all of this in technology, what would be the Indian conception of a dharmic technology? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm finishing off in 5 minutes. Yeah, I was given an hour or so. I'm finishing off. Yeah. So how would you integrate this ethical leadership in technology? One of the best examples, or Gandhi's concept of an ethical technology, was something that saves not just 1 or 2 person's time, but it saves the time for everybody. Once again, connecting it back to the idea of Abhyudaya. It should save that wealth of everyone, not just a few individuals. And he gave the paradigmatic example of a good technology is the Singer sewing machine. So according to him, this is one of the remarkable examples of a good technology because it saves time not just for few people, but for everybody. And from my side, I think an example that can be given is this India Stack, because it saves the energy of several people and it has made people more accessible to transactions which they would not have had earlier. So just coming to a conclusion, summarizing whatever I have said, so that India has had a long living tradition of engineering, and since engineering is just one type of knowledge, it is subjected to the same standards as any other type of knowledge. And since knowledge itself is part of the Artha Purushartha, it has to be regulated by Dharma. And the hallmark of an ethical leader is somebody who is able to balance out this Artha as well as this Kama, and Artha as well as this Dharma. And eventually, whatever be that solution, whether it's an engineering solution or a scientific solution, it should lead to Abhyudaya and finally to the moksha. And throughout this, I have spoken as though the responsibility is there only on the engineer, but I am very well aware that the responsibility is there on the end user also. The end user is also supposed to use the technology responsibly, but because the talk was more on the engineering innovation, the engineer part, I have not focused on the end user part. So thank you very much for the time. If there are any comments, I can take it up.
Any questions? Sir, thank you so much. The session was so enlightening, and it really matches with.
Hello, ma'am. One question.
Yes, yes, sure.
The experiment with the monkey which were going on. So, who did this experiment? Our Indian scholar or the engineers or from the others?
From outside. I can. You can. It is not from India. So you
So
can
that
just
is the
Google.
thing, na. So everything we are quoting outside from the India. So that is the simple question. Like still we are unable to do such kind of experiment on our own, and we are quoting the outside Indian, and we are calling it as a Indian knowledge. It is still to believe.
Sir,
Can I answer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I have given several references from the Indian tradition. I have quoted from the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Kumara Sambhava, Arthashastra, Kamashastra, as well as I have given archaeological evidences from Zawar, Tanjavur. The only one experiment I have taken from outside, so it should not be held against me. Just
No,
for this
it's not like
one.
that. It's not
Yeah.
like that. I agreed. But
Yeah,
the
so
thing is,
I've quoted
like
only one thing I've taken from outside. So knowledge is knowledge. I whatever was useful to me, I've
ah,
taken.
so
Yeah,
that these two words are very important. That knowledge is knowledge. So the
yeah,
thing is, those who have developed, we have to appreciate those knowledge.
yeah. No doubt about it at all. Yeah.
Rest
सर
it was
और
okay.
हम मिलके ऐसे वीडियोस
Thank you.
बना सकते हैं. We can ourselves also make more videos in India.
It's not about the video, madam. It's about the study, the research. That what we want to tell the people that how we can train the animal or anything, and how where they are supposed to do, and where is our knowledge and how to treat people, how to give the knowledge. That is the most important. That what he said in the end
Yeah, we should be able to
for the
create
leaders and all.
resources in
Yes,
India,
yes,
originating from India, and
yes. Agreed.
all of us have the duty to create that.
Thank you.
Taking advice, sir. Yeah. So any other questions? I think, sir, I was trying to tell you that this also matches with our theme, leading with conviction. That is, the students who are the next generation leaders. So we lead them with conviction. So this has a lot of match with that as well. So very
Happy to tell you. Yeah.
very good. Yes, sir. So if with your permission, shall we go on to the next session, sir?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So our next speaker is Dr. Rekha Santanam. She is an associate professor in the Department of Mathematics at IIT Bombay. Dr. Santanam earned her PhD from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and has held positions as visiting assistant professor at Johns Hopkins University and as an assistant professor at IIT Kanpur before joining IIT Bombay. Her research interests lie in algebraic topology and its application. She will be discussing recent innovations in applied topology within the context of STEM and providing insights on ethical leadership in innovation in mathematics. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rekha Santanam.
Hi, thank you. So let me just share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So I think my talk will be slightly technical, but I'll try to make it as as understandable as possible. So the plan is very simple. I'll give a 10-minute quick presentation, and that was to just talk about the kind of innovations one can do, even with like very advanced mathematics, how it gets used in various applications. And so any questions you have about it, and but there is some context also I want to give in the way I present. Then I want to go back and say that how maybe I could do, what is it that I guess, so let me get to the second half when I get there. But since technically now I only have, so how much time do I have starting now? Like 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, you can go on, ma'am. Yeah, you can go on.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, one of the main applications, so one standard recently, like something that has come up, is that suppose you want to, so something that people do care about a lot is like how robotics works, and a simple mechanical system or like a robotic arm that one can talk about is like so suppose this is my mechanical system, which is fixed, can move about the 2 points, that is like, so there are two screws attached, so there is movement of let me try to use my pencil. So
Ma'am, the meeting will end at 8:45 by default.
okay. Okay, yeah. So I will stop and like I'll try to time it accordingly. So I was hoping that you can see when I touch this, but I don't know if you can. There used to be a way to do that. But if you look at the, so maybe now I'll just use pencil to mark it. So if you look at it, one thing is, so this is a loose arm. This can move around this point. Okay. So if I'm saying a piece is moving around this point, then it can kind of rotate in any direction because it's fixed here. Okay. And the other point of place where it can move around is this point. Okay. So this is sort of like a robotic arm that I have, which is allowed to move into, it has two hinges. Okay. And what we want to understand is what are the different ways it can move about. So if you notice that around this arm, it can move a circle. There are different positions this point can have. And when it moves about this point, then there is another circle of different things that it can move about. So mathematically, what basically that means is that the number of choices for any movement that this arm makes for these 2 points, the green and the pink point, in all would be a pair of points where one lies on this blue circle and the other choice lies on this purple circle. Okay, so if I actually draw this choice of points and draw it in a space, so let me call it a circle cross a circle. Then if I actually draw it out in a space, it looks like a torus or like a medu vada, okay? But it's hollow inside. So these are the different points. These are the different choices, the points, the positions that the robot arm can take. And an interesting question that people would like to solve is that suppose my robot was in this particular position, so it was on some, so let me go back here. Suppose it was in some position which is noted by this point. It remembers which point my blue was on, which point my purple was on. And I want to know now what is the movement it needs to do to get to some other position, which may be here. Okay. So these are choices of points in these two circles. And one wants to be able to do these changes of configurations of my robot arm in a smooth manner, like without having to do any like stops or cuts. Okay. So translating this into a mathematical situation, we would basically be talking about something which is called a continuous path on this particular choice of torus. Okay. So I have given a starting point, I have given an end point of my choices of configuration, and I'm collecting all the different ways that the paths can go between them. So this is very interesting for people who work with robots because they want to know what smooth transitions can be made. Okay. It turns out, so let me, in the point of time, let me just sort of not try to be too precise about the mathematical aspect of it, but let me go down to here. So it turns out that you can do something like this smoothly only when actually the space that you're talking about can be contracted to a point. What do I mean by that? For instance, if I'm starting with a disk, okay, if my choice of so for me, in the example that we had before, our choice of paths were on the space I said circle cross a circle. So if this torus was contractible, then I know that I can make a smooth transition from one point to another. So, but what do I mean by contraction? For instance, if you take a disk, like a plate or something which a plate which let's say we make out of children's clay, then we can always push it down to a small point by just continuously like smudging the ends, or like one can think about how you can start with a small ball of chapati and like flatten it out to a whole big chapati without actually making any cuts. Okay, so now it turns out that this is not something which is very common. Like you cannot take a hollow torus, like you cannot take a torus and squish it to a point because you have this circle in the middle. Because if you want to squish it all to the inside, then you basically will take away the space that was inside. So you're somehow patching up something that was a hole in it. Okay, so it is not something that is a contractible thing. So in general, so the innovation or the thing that people came up with was this idea to ask a slightly better question, where they said that, okay, I don't know how to find whether I can, typically whatever my choice of configurations are there, they will not always be a smooth transition from one to the other. But what is the smallest number of cuts I need to make, or like sort of some, let's say some sort of disturbances that can be caused for me to go from one configuration to the another, right? And this is mathematically called something like called topological complexity, right? So so in mathematical terms, one can write down a nice model for what it means. There are a bunch of examples that have been proved as to when what is the topological complexity of a disk which is contractible. It will just be 1. For a circle, it will be 2, and one can show such examples. But this is actually turns out to be a difficult problem to solve in general. If you give me some configuration space, it's not always easy to understand what the possible choices are going to be. So here's where the deeper mathematics come, and people need to use something called algebraic topology and various tools that come from algebraic topology to actually solve this, right? So for instance, one of the things that as a part of our what our work we have proved is that we have shown that topological complexity of some class of Seifert fiber manifolds is we are able to compute. So that was the part that I wanted to present as a technical aspect of it. And now so I'll just stop here for a second. I'll pause here for a second. And I want to know if you have any okay, so I thought this was a slide. I don't know which version. Okay. So I want to ask if there are any quick comments, given we are short of time. So I want to finish in the next 5 minutes. If you have any mathematical questions, but if not, then I want to bring in where is the what is the issue I wanted to point out with the presentation right now. So I gave you a technical talk, and I hope at least I got some concept across, but there was something missing in my talk. If somebody wants to make a guess, what that was. Hello? Hello? Reference to values in the sense?
No, not mathematical values. I'm just
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So, I mean, I meant more in the first context. Maybe I won't get to the Mulya part because we don't have time. But there was something like I wanted to get to the ethic part of it.
okay.
Like, so there was something missing in my talk, which ethically, if I'm doing a research talk, I should always do. So, in case maybe the context is not clear, so let me just say something. Whenever I start a talk, the way I presented it, I don't know if it was clear to everyone whether this idea about how this question came about or the solution to think about it this way came about was by me or someone else, right? So, one thing that is clearly missing in everything that I said was that I did not give you any references in the sense of I did not say so I didn't say whose innovation this was. Like, I didn't give any attribute to anyone. So, when one works on something that, so it's and gives a talk, it should be very clear that who the person originally worked on this was. Like, so this was done by Faber, and maybe somebody will object that I'm talking about something that was not done in India, but somehow this subject has been more closer to people outside of India than in India. It's only catching on in the last more in India in the recent times. There are a lot of people who work on it in India as well now. But for instance, this is a very recent work in the sense that it was introduced only in 2000, and this was done by Michael Faber. And whenever I talk about something new, I should give like attribution to who did what. If I'm talking about some collaborative work, as I mentioned here, I should be talking about who this work was with, and not just make it look like it was my work completely, right? So this was a joint work with Navnath Donkar and Soumyadeep Thandar. But I wanted to give some context in the sense that in mathematics, often one thing which we are not able to always control is how is the end result that whatever we work on or we innovate necessarily, how it goes on at the end user level. Often some of the theory that someone develops in mathematics goes on to the end user much, much later. So, but what we can always contribute in terms of being ethical about is that how we, so one thing is about how we share our work how we attribute our work, how we show the contributions by making sure that everybody who contributed to our work actually their name shows up in our work. So I guess innovation in mathematics in that sense is, and collaborations may work slightly differently, but in the end, one of the things that somebody doing research can, especially who's leading a project or leading a research project, can show a lot of positive ethics by making sure that anybody who contributes to the whole work gets actually named in the article that you write, uh, uh, gets a part of writing space in what people are writing together, um, and the material is shared in a fair way. All right. So since I'm like short of time, I'll stop here and ask if there are any questions.
Yeah, Rekha ma'am, one thought that came to my mind was, while the previous question that came up from the participants was why we were using a video which is not from an Indian origin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the practices that in West they follow, as far as the research is concerned, they do quote the names, and there is a lot of hygiene that they follow in terms of research, and probably that makes us refer to them. The reference becomes more qualitative, and maybe that is the reason we go after the research that has been done. So, what we need to, after listening to you, what I feel inspired to do would be that, we also follow a lot of research hygiene and research, uh, you know, uh, as you said, references, proper naming, and proper credits. I think that is also related to that question. That is the reason, we don't get that standard in our research, probably, maybe.
I think like if something is very ancient, then often there is this habit of taking it for granted without referring to where it came from, and that may be partly why some things don't get referred. But I think as long as people remember who did what and keep quoting it, then automatically things get spread correctly. So yeah.
But also because of quoting too much of the recent uh, uh, references, the ancient references may get hidden.
Huh. So in things that so as far as I know, the kind of thing I'm talking about right now is very very recent. Like the subject itself is very very recent. Like it was not there before. So um, that is not to say that maybe it did show up in ancient times in some context that I don't know of. But for the current knowledge, it's not clear there is. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Sorry. So let me stop sharing this.
So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Raghavan for his, such thorough speech that he had given with so many examples that it was so convincing and so much. I mean, we were so motivated to look into and understand and relate it to our, contemporary thinking. And so, I mean, it was so much um, everything was like so well populated with data and knowledge from the ancient Indian system. So I really thank you, sir, for that insightful speech. And Dr. Rekha, you made a simple presentation, but it really had, I think it drives in a big value into us. Um, I really would like to thank you for this. And although the mathematical part we are just a little new to this particular algebraic topology, but the twist that you brought to it in terms of the ethics, that was really something that we definitely will take home today. And if any, with the permission of all the participants, can we end the meeting